podcasts.
Yeah.
All right.
Hello, and welcome to Xbox Tavern's X-Pod Tavern, episode 110th. On this wonderful Sunday evening, we're here to give you all the Xbox news and gaming goodness, and I'm joined by MPV Graham.
Hello.
Hello, MPV Graham. How are you on this wonderful Sunday evening?
I am good, thank you. And yourself?
I am tremendous. Spiffing, some might say. Spiffing.
Yeah. Although
also,
I might become a bit more murderous if I hear any more of that fucking dubstep.
You know you love the dubstep. This is the problem with Scottish Gruff's away. The dubstep will play and play all night long. It will. But we're not just the pair of us. We've also got the one, the only special guest Pete rejoining us. How are you, special guest Pete? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, I loved it. Podcast. Yeah.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I'm back.
Welcome back. Yes, there'll be I wanted to do a little something different with this begin Xbox Tavern's X-Pod Tavern episode 110th on this wonderful Sunday evening, which we do every week at Sunday evening at 8 p.m.
Ish.
Nice. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's a good ish. I appreciate that one. So should we, without further ado, should we get into the week's gaming goodness and news?
Let's dive in.
Let's dive in indeed. And the top story we've got this week is Phil Spencer recently had an Xbox On interview with Charlie, I forget her surname now. And part of this news story that came out of it is that they have supposedly some Goldeneye type reveals planned over the coming months ahead of a major product showcase in June. So I'll just read this bit from VGC quickly. It says, last month, the platform holder held the first Xbox and Bethesda developer _direct digital event where it announced Minecraft Legends, Redfall release dates, Forza, blah, 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 blah. It also confirmed to host a product showcase in Los Angeles in June. But like I said in the recent interview with Xbox On, Spencer was asked if there are any other big reveals planned before the summer showcase. And he says, so a lot of our focus right now is on the showcase in June, but there's some news that's coming out. He replied, like we did the GoldenEye announcement. I'm thinking GoldenEye type announcements. I don't know if you could have phrased that a bit better there, Phil.
Yeah.
But yes, it's basically saying more stuff's coming to Game Pass, probably a quick announcement. But the way I read it was that we're going to get more sort of retro style comebacks, perhaps. We've already had a Perfect Dark's already in rare replay, but perhaps something along the lines of more Banjo-Kazooie or maybe like a proper up stuff for Perfect Dark. What do you think there, Grayman? Let's get to you first.
Well, yeah, that's what they're saying. They're going to bring back some more old classics. Then it just depends how they do it. Because GoldenEye got a bit stiff on the Xbox with no kind of online multiplayer. So if they're going to bring back single player games, then it's not going to matter so much. So like a Banjo-Kazooie and ones like that, they sort of redo those and upstuff those, then yeah, I'm sure people are going to love that. If they're going to do any kind of multiplayer like Diddy Kong Racing or any kind of those kind of games, they're just going to drown if they're not going to be online, because they'll be fun for a bit, but without online play, they'll just suffer the same way.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm trying to think as you're talking, if they might have. Rare Replay sort of covered most of their bases, but I'm wondering if are there any other studios you can think of that might have titles from around that sort of era that we could see sort of drop back into modern gaming. Pete, you got any answers while Graham has a think?
No, I was just trying to think what you two were just talking about. GoldenEye was a game that everyone's been kind of clamoring after for the last, 20 years to bring to kind of modern day consoles, and we finally got it. I don't know another title that kind of has that calling.
The obvious answer is Burning Rangers remaster for Sega Saturn.
Maybe, yeah. But, because most old games are now accessible on new consoles, like games like DuckTales and all that malarkey. Like you said, you got Rare Replay, you got the Mega Drive collections always on there. So unless they dip into the kind of the OG Xbox era, get a bit of, Rainbow Six on there, like the OG one, maybe Halo 1 remastered, that kind of thing. I don't know. Not too sure. I don't really have any ideas in my head what they could do, to be there.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Well, not that they haven't already come. What they've already covered. There's so much stuff that's already been redone, remade, or just put into sort of like classics that have been brought back or as like bundles that they usually do. It's hard to think of any kind of series or big game that's left that hasn't had that kind of thing done about it.
My mind was going running through things I'd like to play, and I was like, "Oh, Quake! Oh no, I've already done Quake." Oh,
Yeah, I had Quake in my head as well.
Yeah, maybe something along the lines of Unreal Tournament, perhaps, or I'm trying to think of some other first-person shooters that, like you said, Pete, Rainbow Six obviously was quite a big one that we can't really play
Duke
anymore.
Nukem.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the originals are already on there as well. So I mean, before
maybe this is where Nintendo first-party titles finally come to an Xbox platform. Maybe we'll see the original Mario Bros on the Xbox. Who knows?
Know what? A man can dream, eh? A man can dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sony would get super wet if that happened.
Yeah. Oh, you can't take away our Call of Duty and not give us Mario as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we'll see Mario, but I mean, maybe like a Metroid or a Star Fox, maybe ones that Nintendo IPs could do with a boost, So maybe a game like that, you never know.
And like
again, wishful thinking.
Yeah, I mean, like Graham already mentioned, something like Diddy Kong Racing. It's still got that rare lineage. It's obviously a Nintendo game, though, but something like that would be nice to see on
but I don't think
more powerful console.
Yeah, I don't think because they remade Crash Bandicoot Racing, didn't they? And that, although it was good, obviously, it didn't really have the user base for it to kind of take off. And I think Graham mentioned about Goldeneye, like because it didn't have online. Yeah, everyone completed it in a couple of days, and then okay, bye. Don't play it again.
No, I mean it's hard without that online multiplayer. So, I mean, a lot of the games you're thinking about that you miss playing, most of them tend to be multiplayer ones. But it's whether they can make that work.
Yeah, that is obviously the biggest thing that we're missing really from GoldenEye is online multiplayer for the Xbox side. Obviously, it's got it on the Switch. Perhaps even that could be something that they announced they finally worked out how to go through the red tape and get multiplayer. And you can play with Switch, with Xbox. That would be a good start. And again, it's sort of it's struggling to think because when he specifies it being as a GoldenEye type thing, your mind instantly goes to old shooters or old N64 games
retro
or old
games,
Dreamcast. Yeah. But I mean, it could easily mean something along the lines of a surprise drop like Hi-Fi Rush. So brand new, smaller titles from studios already got out there, or third-party studios, or blast from the past, as it were. I mean, the options are endless, really, especially with Game Pass.
Maybe the new Elder Scrolls, they'll just drop it and go, "Here's the Elder Scrolls." There you go.
I mean, can you imagine?
I think that would break the internet. That would if the SAT just suddenly dropped.
Can you imagine if his comparison of a GoldenEye like announcement was actually it's Starfield?
That would be a massive troll.
So, it's almost the same as GoldenEye. I mean, we'll see. Like I said before, June, he said they're gonna have another showcase with these supposed Goldeneye-style announcements. We'll find out soon. And then we obviously got the showcase in June. We're still waiting for the showcase for Starfield as well. Which did we talk about a date for that? Like a rumored date of like March sometime, was it?
Wasn't that Redfall?
No, the Redfall had the May release date, but I'm on about the actual showcase that they're going to show off Starfield. I'm sure there was a rumor somewhere saying some point in March, which obviously we're now in, so we might get that very soon as well. Hopefully we'll get some more information very, very soon indeed. Gentlemen, so we move on to the next story, please.
Yeah, go for it.
Yep.
Nice. Let's get a bit of a sad one out of the way, shall we? I know Graham will be disappointed. I'm pretty sure Pete's a big fan of this one as well. Telltale Games has delayed The Wolf Among Us 2 to 2024. I think that was one, if I remember rightly, Greg, that was one of your, when we did the early year show, something you were particularly picked out as something you're looking forward to, and now it's been pushed back.
Yeah, of the sort of the Telltale ones, that was the one that probably stuck with me the most as a sort of the most interesting kind of concept in the story. I mean, is it sort of using fairy tales as such to tell a bit of a gruesome, gritty detective story. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that, the style of how it did it. So I was just super intrigued to see how they carried that on. But obviously keep that on a rain check for that one until next year.
Gonna have to keep that. Yeah, hold fire on that one. Pete, did you ever play The Wolf Among Us?
Oh, I did. It was great. It was like they did Dark Disney before Disney did, and they did it better than Disney,
Without too many spoilers, the end of episode 1 where a certain character's head just rolls on the floor. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and there's also that the nudity scene. I'm like, holy what? Like, you know, one of the blew my mind. But that was a really good game. You know, it's not quite as good as Walking Dead, but it's definitely, I think, probably in the top 3 Telltale games.
I mean,
for me.
there's no classic
The fact
characters
it
like
doesn't
Kenny.
have Kenny is already 1,000,000% better.
Yeah, so I'll just read their statement very quickly. They say that we've made a difficult decision to delay The Wolf Among Us 2 out of 2023. We started work on this in 2020 and we're still determined to tell the ongoing story of Bigby and the rest of Fabletown gang. However, it is going to require more time. As disappointed as you are hearing this, we feel worse having to say it. We're committed to delivering the sequel fans deserve and doing what's right for the game while protecting the health of our team.
Yeah, can't argue that.
I mean, yes, like all these delays, take your time. Get a decent game out there rather than rushing it and hurting anyone or getting anyone to do stupid hours and sleeping under their desks and all that bullshit they used to do back in the day. But it's still a shame, obviously, that we're not going to get to play it this year. But hopefully, it'll be worth the wait in the long run.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, you know, the order hype isn't really a thing anymore, is it? So I don't. Obviously, we're seeing so many cancellations and delays. Like, I don't think people really care anymore. Like, you just make it good, release it. You know,
exactly. Release it, and if it's good, it doesn't matter. As Miyamoto once said, you know, a delayed game is forever bad. A rush game is forever bad. A delayed game is eventually good, or something along those lines.
Yeah,
it always gets butchered. Carry on with that. So that's a bit of a shame, but let's get on to a good story now, shall we? A nice positive one, gentlemen. Fortnite. I can see Graham's eyes rolling already. So new season starts soon. They brought the new date for the next season. Was it chapter 2, 8, 7, 45, whatever it is? Forward a few days. It's supposed to end on the 13th of March, I think, but it's now ending on the 8th. And there's been some leaks regarding the new season, including a possible first-person mode, like fully first-person rather than just some of the weapons, which I'm not overly sold on. I know you're not a big fan, Greg, but Pete, would you play Fortnite in first-person?
Do you know what? When I read this earlier, I was like, no. But then it just dawned on me. Fishing in first person. I mean, you've got to do it at least once. Right? You know,
you've got to have at least a bit of fishing. You know, everybody gather around the lake, fishing out your weapons, fishing out your items, keeping Ian super duper happy. You know, he loves it. Again, only a rumor, but possibly a first person.
As long as it doesn't replace the no build mode, then
that's what I was about to say. Yeah, we want to keep no build, so we could end up with full build, no build, full build first person, full build no third person. I mean, it's going to end up all over the place.
The last time I played Fortnite, the UI was so messy, so they need to clean it up if they're going to add a third kind of thing to it.
Yeah, they have tidied up the menus up quite a bit. And I've actually been playing some more. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But there's another reason I bought Fortnite up, not just because I think it's one of the best multiplayer games out there at the minute. A little game called Resident Evil 4 is coming out very soon at the end of this month or towards the end of the month. And it looks like there's going to be another collaboration with Fortnite and Resident Evil. So according to Dexerto here, they've found a rumor that Claire and Leon are finally going to be coming to the wonderful multiplayer game, which will join Chris and Jill, who have already been on there. No Hunk just yet, or no Tofu or anything yet, unfortunately, but it looks like we could be in there. Yeah, so there was a tweet went from this person named HypeX, who seems to be doing all of the Fortnite leaks, literally saying Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield are coming to the item shop in season 2, according to the same source that contacted them and told them about the other bits and pieces that we've already mentioned. I would be very excited, obviously, to see this. I tend to avoid spending real life money on V-Bucks, but if I haven't got enough by that point, I think I might end up dipping into my Microsoft rewards points and picking a few up, because unfortunately I'm exactly that kind of sucker at the minute. Who want to go for that? Not normally my sort of thing. Pete, I know that Resident Evil wouldn't do anything for you, but are you going to jump back in for the new season when it starts in a few days?
Maybe, we'll see. But I mean, just going back to obviously, you know, the new characters. I mean, what I would say about free-to-play games is, if you're enjoying it, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to chuck a few pennies at it. Just, you know, because you can, kind of thing. If it's something you like. I mean, obviously, I did a little bit for the Dragon Ball Z content, and obviously now, you know, I've just made those my kind of make sure I only use those skins now, so I can get my money's worth. But yeah, I might jump back in now. Obviously, it's been a while because I sent you a clip a few weeks ago, didn't I? Of me getting a dinner with Harry, and then didn't play it again. So maybe we'll see. Because I work quite a lot of nights now. It's games like Fortnite tend to kind of get pushed to the wayside.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And what about yourself, Greg? Can anything tempt you to try a new season of Fortnite?
Arranging a time that where it's all playing. I'm going to be playing that shit solo. So
you just give me a shout, mate. I'm always on. Just shout. I'll play anytime, any day.
But no, not interested in the Resi content until they bring the real heroes like Forrest or Carlos. I think his name is the one that goes terrible demons.
See, you know the Resident Evil lore just as well as I do. Yeah,
only the first one.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited to check out the new season. Like I said, they brought it forward a couple of days, and you've got until the 8th to go on there and get supercharge XP, buff it right up. They've done that as a sort of a make good for not giving people a few less days to do it. So I'll just talk about that quickly, get out of the way. I've been playing a lot of Fortnite the last couple of days just to try and get my levels up. I managed to get level 100 first time.
I was about to say, did you get the Doom guy?
The full 100. So I've got Doom guy. I've got the whatever that character is for level 100. But I also unlocked the Witcher skin, which will please Ross.
Nice.
I managed to pull that off last night, and I got a win as well. It was a very eventful evening last night. So yeah, I've been loving it. I think it's brilliant still. I had a quick game before we started here this evening to nudge me over to the 100, and here we are. And we're ready for season 2. Getting ready for bit more Resident Evil content, hopefully. It'd be nice if they included, like when they did the Dragon Ball stuff, they had like the Kame house and stuff. It'd be nice if they include like the Spencer mansion somewhere. You can jump in and run around it.
I imagine they had to pay a lot of money for the Dragon Ball licensing, hence probably why they went all in on these. Right, let's do this and that and that and that. Whereas Resident Evil's like, yeah, you can have a characters, go on, do it. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Exactly. Get all the locations. Just it's fine. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Oh, excuse me. We'll see what happens with the new season and the new Resident Evil stuff. Hopefully. Speaking of Resident Evil, sorry, gentlemen, I told you March is going to be mad for Resident Evil. Capcom has announced a new event for next week. Oh, let me find my mouse. Sorry, there we go. According to good old BGC. The lovely people over there. They've got a 26-minute digital event next week featuring various upcoming games. It'll be on Thursday, the 9th of March at 2:30 p.m. PT or 10:30 p.m. GMT, which I believe is our time. Ish. Yeah. With the pre-show 20 minutes earlier, they're going to focus on Resident Evil 4, Exo Primal, Monster Hunter Rise, Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection, and Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. I mean, of all of them games, there's only really one that anyone's going to pay attention to, but it'd be interesting. 26 minutes.
I was going to say that's their full catalogue, isn't it? In the 20-minute pre-shows, they've
got Street Fighter in there as well.
I was going to say, they've got Street Fighter coming out on June the 2nd, and I imagine there'll be some sort of mention of that, of maybe like an open beta or demo, or I don't know if they've already done something. I must admit, I've not paid too much attention to the old Street Fighters. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I'm not going to ask anyone for any opinions unless you really want to delve any out, because I'm sure you haven't got much.
I mean, you've got me pumped for a 26-minute Street Fighter.
Can't wait.
Exactly 26.
Well, earlier, what I was going to say earlier, obviously you said about the Goldeneye announcement. Maybe they're going to bring Street Fighter 1 over. Getting the games in.
Have you seen the very first one? It's diabolical.
Same as Goldeneye, you know what I mean?
No.
It's not quite the same level, yeah. I think that's already in a collection somewhere as well. Anyway,
first Mortal Kombat, first Street Fighter,
First Mortal Kombat was fun.
Get this new generation gamers to feel the pain that we felt.
Well, then go further back than that. Whip out some of those bloody Commodore classics or Atari. I'm not sure we need to punish Amstrad.
No one needs to be punished like that. We've moved well past them days. Can't even be bothered to put a disc in anymore. And I'm fucking winding up tapes and loading like 8 tapes to launch a shitty game.
The quadruple floppy disk loading, ear piercing loading screens. Yeah,
and all the crazy colours coming.
But to be fair, Commodore had some of the most banging tracks that are still hard to beat.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll hear some of them one day. Maybe you could show us on a podcast, or perhaps an Xbox Tavern After Dark episode. Podcasts. You can find Xbox.
I don't have to mention the game Crackout. You listen to some of the tracks on that game on Commodore 64. They're bangers. They're better than the bloody dubstep. I'd rather have those tracks.
Well, we'll see what we can do for next week for you. I think that's probably going to cut us for the news. I don't really want to talk about Activision Blizzard again, if that's all right with you lot. And yeah, that's about it, really.
How will Xbox survive? I mean,
how will they? Will they survive? That's the question.
Why is it a survival thing? Because
this is my thing. Sorry, we're going to get to it. No, we're going to get into it.
Go into
it.
The
most surprising thing about this news is that it was talked about in the first place. I don't think anyone doubted Microsoft's Xbox would exist if it didn't go through. So I'm not too sure why he had to come out and say that. That's the only odd thing for me about that story.
Well, as an odd sidestep at that, did you not? I think there was a rumor of Sony looking at Take-Two or whatever. That's got to be just as much nonsense.
I think some of the wonderful people on the wonderful Twitterverse just spout the utter bullshit just to get attention and try and be like, well, if they do this and they have to, no, just shut up, you fucking cunts. Just fucking play your video games and enjoy yourself.
Take-Two got anyway. Take-Two, remember?
GTA.
That's like GTA, WWE, NBA.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need to get that. It's a load of box.
Yeah.
The long and the short of it is, someone asked him, I think, will Xbox still exist if it doesn't work? And he said yes. And then everybody's going, oh, he said they will exist. We don't want no panic. It's only because someone asked a stupid question that you got a stupid answer. Anyway,
I mean, when was the first Xbox released? 2000 something? Mid 2000s was it? 2001. There you go. There you go. Right.
Anyway, that's enough of that fucking Activision Blizzard stuff for this week. I'm sure we'll get more next week and the week after and the week after until the end of time. At this fucking rate.
It's getting more painful than COVID. Let's call it the COVID deal.
Yes, it's.
You think it's come around and then bloody a new story, a new variation has come through.
Can't even fucking get vaccinated for it to try and bounce off the news. It just finds me and gets in my eyeballs.
The way to vaccinate is just to block any word on Twitter about it. If you follow it on Twitter, just block the words Activision, Blizzard, Takeover. Just block all those words, and then your timeline will be cleansed.
Pull the plug out the internet. Just turn it off.
Exactly.
Don't live in a forest somewhere until it's all done with and blown over.
Yeah.
Anyone else got any news that they saw this week they'd like to bring up, or should we move on to the old pluggles?
No.
No, I don't think there's anything else massively of interest in there.
Good. Yeah. Again, it was a little bit of a shorter news style week this week. Really, we don't need to get into too in depth right now. So let's give a quick plug to our good friends at Insert Coin, then, shall we? InsertCoinClothing.com. They provide lots of wonderful clothes that we like to wear all the time, including I've got a lovely jumper here. I don't know if you can see that nice wipeout jumper. What have you got on there, Pete? Oh wow, that's a nice.
I've got this jumper on actually. I think it's it's quite a decent one.
Is that a wipeout? Is it? I think it's good.
I think it is. Yeah.
Nice.
Look, Graham's
got a nice.
I have my Insert Coin, which I have no idea which game it's from. Anyone that's watching that has any idea, all I know is that says Kappa, which means frog, and I have this looks like a place in Japan, but this still doesn't help me find out what this game is. There's lots of games with frogs and lots of games with a reference to Kappa, which means frog, and I still have none of that. I mean, Kappa's technically mentioned in Yakuza. I'm happy for it to be a Yakuza top, but I don't know if it is. No idea.
If you can help out our good friend Graham with letting him know what he's purchased, because we all picked up a blind bag recently, which they do every so often, which it varies in price, but it goes from like a £5 up to about 15 quid, and you get a random item in the post of your size of choosing, and we all got different bits and pieces. Mine's in the wash at the minute, but I've got a nice t-shirt from Monster Hunter. I think Pete got that jumper, and Gray got the random t-shirt, which is not sure where.
Well, I've got a Tails one as well as
got my Jigglypuff t-shirt. Yeah,
so
it's all good stuff. Although one thing I would recommend: make sure that you go the size above, because I've recently gone down to a double XL size. I ordered the triple XL just to be safe, and it's quite tight. So make sure you go the size up of what you usually
triple XL for life. Triple XL for life. But yes, you can go check them out. We've extolled their virtues. They've got lots of great stuff on there, including some nice new Gears of War stuff, which are
it is quality made as well. It is quality made as well, to be fair.
And you can also use our code Xbox Tavern 23 for £5 off orders over £50. And if you're spending any less than £50, you're doing it wrong, because they got too much stuff as it is. Go on there, check it out. InsertCoinClothing.com, Xbox Tavern 23 for £5 off over £50. Thank you very much, Insert Coin.
One last interesting point.
Go on.
I definitely made sure that didn't say fucker, because I didn't want to go around with a top name frog fucker on it.
I'm
researched
not really
that.
sure where to go from that one. So let's move
Exactly.
on to the other. Let's go to
That's a
speaking
plug
of
and a half there.
spending money. You can go to patreon.com/Xbox Tavern where you can support us and our podcast and our website, which we do. £2 a month, I think, is the lowest tier at the minute. You get Xbox Tavern After Dark, which we record every Sunday after the podcast, where we talk about things other than gaming. Well, generally other than gaming, like Nintendo games, perhaps PlayStation, wrestling, sometimes sports, not very often sports. I don't think we've had sports just yet. I'm sure we will. And various other bits and pieces where we just shoot the shit and get a bit more loose and crazy with it. So if you want to go over there, patreon.com/Xbox Tavern. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts. It'd be great if you rate and review us, and we shall read it out on the show, as well as Spotify podcasts and wherever else podcasts can be found. And you can find all of our written stuff at xboxtavern.com, which is the website that this podcast is accompanying to. We've got lots of reviews, which I'll put up later on, or I'll read out later on for you, so you can know what we put up this week. You can find us on various socials, Twitter, Discord, bloody TikTok, all that sort of wonderful stuff. Discord link in the show notes. If you want to come and join the guest again competition we've got going on, that Graham's still being a massive chicken and not taking part in. We're doing pretty well. We've had some good ones, some good twos, and a few misses, but yeah, we're doing really well with that. So come join along. As well as other
just doesn't
games.
want to embarrass us because he knows he'll get it first
Well,
time every time.
he's either going to be really fucking good at it or really shit at it, and I can't decide why he's not taking part.
I'd be more middling to shit. I have done it every now and then. I just haven't posted them into Discord.
To be fair, today's was like, the first 3 pictures, I'm like, how was that supposed to be linked to that game? And then I was like, picture 4, I was like, well, it's got to be that one, surely.
Yeah. So if you're not sure, guess the .game, go play it every day. Like Wordle, you get one challenge a day, you get to play it, and I think it's fucking brilliant. I love it. I'd like to have like more than one challenge a day, but obviously then that would perhaps get a bit overkill. But we don't need to get that. Join us on Discord, and then that's about it for the pluggers. Let's move on to all of our rest of the show, shall we?
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's do it.
Let's do it, indeed. We got a question, I do believe. Special guest Pete is coming good again with a question, is he?
Yeah, I did it about 5 minutes before we started, so feel free to say if you want to do it or not.
We can ask quickly if you like. So, obviously, we've got E3 coming up. We've got whatever Xbox showcase they're going to do. We've got Capcom showcase next week. We've got State of Plays. We've got Nintendo Directs, all sorts of great stuff. But he wants to know, are pre-release hype trains a thing of the past? So obviously, way back in the day, we'd have years of build-up for big games, and we'd have trailer after trailer and events and all that stuff. And obviously, COVID kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works with that. But we're sort of starting to get back to things like that. But Pete, what do you think? What's your opinion? Do you think we sort of moved past the big budget, super long hype trains, and we've just gone for more shorter ones now, or do you think we're still rolling along?
I mean, games are obviously announced, way too far in advance, but it just feels like before it was like, yeah, pre-order, get this, get that, pre-order it, this. Maybe it's because we're obviously it's all more digital now than it was physical back in the day, but it just feels like, a game. Obviously, Hi-Fi Rush was obviously an anomaly, right? But games like Atomic Heart, which we'll get to in a minute, a game that looks that good, you kind of think, why didn't they hype it? And was it that Wolong, was it? Like a game like that that's meant to be, is it From Software, is it again? One of those kind of games? Like, it didn't get any hype. I certainly never heard of it before it suddenly got released onto Game Pass. Yeah. I just wanted to get your two take on it, really, because it just seems like games are... Like, I felt for at least the last year, maybe even 2, that I'm like, what games am I looking forward to this year? I don't know. Apart from the yearly releases like F1 and FIFA and all that, it's like, what else is there to look forward to that's been hyped up to get my interest? It's almost as companies are like, there you go, there's we've got Avengers coming out in a couple of years, there you go. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is there's so many fucking games coming now that even if you get like Resident Evil 4, for example, I'm going to come back to that. I know you're going to be sick of it by the end of the month, but they've had sort of sporadic showcases, but they showed like a 5-minute trailer and a little bit of gameplay here and there. And that's sort of, I think, as it used to be, where they drip feed over, say, 6 months, like a trailer a month or a trailer every 6 weeks or something. Whereas something like Wolong, like you said, they had a big thing with IGN for a month where they did their IGN first. And it's sort of got a bit of word of mouth, but it's not really been like you said, like trailer and massive billboards everywhere and hyping up massively. I mean, it's still been hyped up a little bit, not massively. Whereas you've got the complete opposite end where you've got Elder Scrolls 6, where they announced about 4 years ago, and they've never showed a single thing about it other than that very tiny clip, which wasn't even like a gameplay. It was just like a scene setting thing, and we probably won't see anything for that for probably another 4 years at this rate. So yeah, I think because there's so many, it's just difficult to keep track of everything that's going on. And some games, as much as they might try and pump them up, there's stuff we're not interested in, like Woe Long again, for example. Not our sort of cup of tea, so it's easy to get distracted by the stuff that is our cup of tea, like Resident Evil 4, for example, and pay attention to that and not see all the other stuff going on over there. Whereas before there were so few games, even if you weren't interested, that you were still bombarded with adverts and trailers.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like a game like Woe Long, like even if it wasn't your cup of tea, if they showed you certain aspects that, well, actually, that's what it's for, right? It's meant to pull you in to play it.
Yeah.
So what about you, Greg? And I forgot that it was coming. I didn't even notice it until it was like yesterday. I think it was.
Exactly.
Like, oh, that's out. Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I need to get that installed. Yeah. So yeah, I was actually looking forward to that one. That's in my sort of wheelhouse.
Yeah. So it's out now on Game Pass as well, which we'll read the list later on. But yeah, I think to summarize again, there's too much. We need to call it colder releases a bit. Just have 1 or 2 games a year. That's fine. Nobody needs any more than that. Just 1 or 2 releases. Just release Resident Evil 4, then 5, maybe not 5. And we'll go back to 1 again. Keep Graham happy. But you mentioned a game while we were having that quick chat discussion, a game called Atomic Heartbeat.
Yep.
Which is, if you're not familiar, our Project Game Pass game for the month. What is Project Game Pass? Let me tell you all about it. It's where we pick a game from Game Pass, we play it for an entire month, we discuss it, we give it a quick unofficial Xbox Tavern rating, and then we move on and pick another game. This month is indeed Atomic Heart. So, Special Guest Pete, I don't believe we've spoke to you about it yet. So, do you want to jump in first and tell us your thoughts and opinions on it?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit worried about jumping in because I heard saw you two guys talking about this yellow pole you got to try and climb up. But you know, it was one of those games. Like my first impression, I looked at it as it's just another gimmicky FPS. Here we go. That's why I couldn't get into Deathloop. It was just too many things. I was like, whatever. And this one, I thought, it's Project Game Pass. I downloaded it. I'll give it a go. And I think I don't know if you mentioned this last week, possibly, but just the first hour is just. Come on, get on with it. Yes, you've crafted this beautiful world and this beautiful scenery of robots, but can I just please get to the gameplay? I almost had to turn it off because I was just getting so kind of bored of it. And then obviously it starts, and I was a bit like, oh yes, I can. I played it for another couple of for half an hour so after that, and then once I turned it off, I had that feeling of, do you know what? I want to go back to it again. Got back to it this morning. I don't know if it's because the kids are around and I couldn't really focus it properly, but again, I haven't been impressed, if I'm being honest. Hang on, I wrote a couple of notes down. Here we go.
Notes.
So, I wrote some notes down so I remember what I want to talk about. So, there's the unnecessary horny upgrade robot. It's funny once, but I was like, okay.
Yeah, that sexy fridge doesn't get any more exciting the more times you meet her.
Yeah, I've met her twice now, and the first time I was like, okay, it's funny for the first minute, but I'm like, oh, she's gonna keep going. She's keep going. I was like, oh my god. Other thing is the fact that I'm sure you'll like this fact, Graham, is that the fact you can't hide. So stealth elements kind of aren't really a thing. So there was this robot patrolling up and down, and I hid behind a trash can or something that was there, and all of a sudden I heard the music start, and I was like, that's the battle music. Oh shit, he's there. I was like, right, so he's seen me behind cover, and it happened 2 or 3 times. I'm like, well, they've introduced this sneak mechanic, but I can't seem to use it because you can't hide behind anything. So, there was that. The one thing I do find a bit random as well is this kind of like unwarranted aggression towards his glove. I'm like, where's this aggression come from? Why do you have to, if you don't want it, just take it off. Like, stop calling it names. And it's just like, it's almost like they tried. Well, it's obviously probably coincidental. Obviously, you had the game as a High on Life with the talking guns, and now you got this talking glove. But it's like I can understand the hate towards the guns because the voice was annoying. I'm like, the glove's done nothing. He's actually just trying to help you. Like, he'll tell you about his abilities and do. And I'm just like, yeah, this guy's just being a dick towards his glove. The one thing
I
do
think that
enjoy-
was
Go
done
on.
purposely. I think that's more to build a similar dynamic to what you get in like Portal, like that kind of thing. You kind of you have that banter between them two, and that's kind of what they were aiming for. I think a storyline that sort of
but
fills the
there's
gap with that kind of banter. But
there's no backstory to it. There's no kind of like, why is he being aggressive towards it? Unless, I haven't got to that point yet where he has a long secret hatred towards gloves or whatever.
I think it's more just it assumes that you don't know what you're doing, so it's just constantly treating you like a moron. And he knows that it's kind of, he has to use it because obviously, I don't know if it's his lead or whatever, the professor or whatever, he's the one who designed it for him. And so he was like, you have to trial it out. And so he's doing this as a favor, as part of his mission. And it's just something he has to put up with because that's his job.
Yeah. The other thing I noted down was the kind of the random electric shock that comes out of nowhere. I do remember upgrading it first, but I was like, I pressed wax, and I was like, oh my god, I got electric hands. I was like, what's that about?
I think you got that from the fridge, the sexy fridge.
Yeah, I know. I think that's why I forgot about it because I was too focused on the fridge.
No, well, Ross brought it even more to the fact that you have a shotgun and you don't even know you have a shotgun.
I didn't find that issue, to be honest. As soon as I picked it up, I was like, I've got a shotgun. But I would say the most fun is dismembering the bodies. It sounds a bit morbid, maybe, but just going around
just the ones lying around. Yeah,
there's a hanging body. Yeah, chop his leg off. Yoink. Yeah, chop his head off. It was. I'm like, hey Harry. Oh, Jay's gone. Oh.
No, he said 2 minutes. He'll be back in a sec.
Okay, sorry. I was like, oh, hey Harry. I said to Austin, like, have you ever seen what happens when you, if you're not in an accident? And I was like, his head come off. But it's not too bad. That I think that bit's fun. But yeah, like you said, but yeah, it's not. I don't know if I want to go back to it, but I might do once. There's no kids around, just to try and focus on it. What about yourself, Gray?
I'm giving it, I've given it a bit longer. I've given it another couple of hours playing through. And yeah, it's just, it just seems to be an amalgamation for other games. That's what I said. I was getting Portal feels with the rapport between the Glovers, who were saying, I'm getting Bioshock vibes, which with the powers that you're getting and even the weaponry you're using, and the fact you can't kind of hide, that kind of thing. It feels very Bioshock, the way that plays through. The yellow pipe thing was just a bit further in the game. It was just so unnecessary.
I got to that bit, but you were kind of going around the carts, right? Or
yeah.
I did that first time. I don't understand why you were having an issue with the yellow pipe.
It wasn't. I did initially just because the angle you have to get to jump onto the platform was so unnecessarily clunky that it just became annoying, because after I got past that bit, and like you obviously got this super worm that drills through the walls and stuff, that didn't kill me. But once I got a bit further on, the car fell on my head and killed me first time. So I noticed that to be wary of the car. And then once he came out of the car, I was looking through the bars, and then something killed me from behind. Didn't realize there's a blooming black ninja robot behind me chopping me up. And then for the next 3 times, he kept whooping me. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's why it took me so many times, because you couldn't just come back to that bit. You had to climb up the pipe every single time you died to redo that bit. And it got clunkier the more times I did it, just like that video.
Yeah.
That's jittery. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's slowly. Sorry, my computer just decided to shit the bed, so I had to restart it. Carry on.
If the platforming doesn't work so well, just don't include it. It doesn't need it to be in there. Make it be a bit more automated so we don't have to suffer that. It wasn't even like tricky. It was just more the fact that it was awkwardly camera angled and kept unnecessarily climbing round the pipe instead of looking. It was just became an annoyance. But yeah, after so many times, that's what just drove me nuts. The bits that I didn't like too much, I don't mind the sort of annoying fridge upgrade mechanic, because that's just part of the gimmick of it, and it's somewhat amusing. But it's just the lots of different pits you have to collect to do crafting and upgrading. I'm not sure that's too fun. I mean, I like the one hand pick up everything in sight when you wafting around. That's quite cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned that last week as well. That's quite cool. But yeah, it got trickier. I mean, once the enemies, as Ross said, they start grouping on you, then it becomes a bit more of a challenge. And yeah, you kind of have to revert back to melee because your shotgun doesn't have enough bullets to try and take out multiple enemies.
Yeah, I hardly use a shotgun, to be honest. I was always axing people.
Wow. Well, when it's sort of 1v1s, the shotguns are definitely the best thing to use. But yeah, multiple enemies, then definitely the axe beats. But yeah, I kind of dig it. It does give me sort of massive sort of Bioshock feels, and it just reminds me of that. So I just wanted to get a bit further in, unlock a few more kind of powers, and then see where it kind of goes from there. But
What about yourself, Jay?
I'm all right with it.
Sorry. Yeah. Did you play much this week, Jay? Were you dismembering any of the bodies?
I got to every single one because I just finished playing Dead Space. So I was like, I've got to chop them all up. But can I come back? I was like, no, I don't need to anymore. How far have I gotten in? Not much further than the yellow pipe of doom. Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm not really sure.
Oh.
And I hate it. I cannot stand it.
There's one thing actually I forgot to mention. Sorry to interrupt you, Jay. There's a lot of climbable environments that you can't climb up, and I'm like, I should be able to climb on that. Why can't I climb on that? There's like an invisible wall for you climbing on these things. So continue.
It's I think it's the same problem I have with this as I have with Dead Island. Not Dead Island. Well, Dead Island, yeah, but Dead. Oh fuck! What's the one we played together? Dying Light. Where the feel of like the first person melee combat and the guns it doesn't feel right at all. I don't like it at all. It just feels the guns feel too floaty and the combat feels too weak. And I just, no matter what method of attack I use, I hate it. The movement feels awful. The parkourness, even beyond the yellow pipe, is awful. It looks very pretty.
You can't sprint, can you?
The sprints automatically, I think.
Yeah.
Which
not
I am a
fast,
fan of.
but yeah.
Not very fast, but I am a fan of that because the amount of times you're playing a game, you just sprinting everywhere. You might as well just leave it as default way sprint. But yeah, I don't like the game feel. I don't like the story. I don't like the fucking the over crazy sexy robot vending machine thing. I don't really care about that so much, but it like one of you said, sorry, I was trying to get my computer back up and running. The joke wears thin after about the first 10 seconds. And I was just fucking get over and done with. The guy's a cunt. His hands a cunt. I cannot stand any of it. And like I said, it looks pretty, and it did give me slight Bioshock vibes. And the opening was quite good, where you're walking around and all the different things are talking and that. But there was one set of characters that walked past, and they were taking a picture outside some sort of monument. And I stood there and watched them. And I listened to what they were saying, and they were doing like poses and stuff. And then instantly, they just started again and went through exactly the same animation and conversation over and over again. So, well, that kind of breaks it a little bit because now it's literally just like you're going through like a theme park ride rather than like a living, breathing place or whatever. And
so would you prefer they just kind of stood there and stopped talking, or?
Well, yeah, I mean, they could have just walked off and gone somewhere else,
or true. Yeah.
Like you said, stopped and like pretend talking, like gone quiet, like they do in Bioshock and stuff. But they literally just had exactly the same conversation again, and yeah, I just. It like I said, it feels like Dying Light to me in that it just doesn't feel very fun to play. I'm going to play some more for the sake of Project Game Pass, but every time I think about going back to it, I'm like, I'm just going to play something else. I can't. I do not like it at all. And I hope I had hoped the powers you'd get would be worthwhile, but I unlocked one of them called.
The shock.
Oh, what the fuck is it called? Well, you get the shock one anyway, but then I picked the I mean it's fucking useless. And then I picked the one because you know me, I love a bit of fire. I picked the one that said you could set people on fire with it. I was like, yeah, do that. And
of course
you like fire out a load of gel onto them, and then you're supposed to be able to spark it with lightning or with flames or with ice or something. But does it do anything? Does it fuck? I haven't been able to use it to actually hurt anyone at all. It just covers them in shit, and then they still kick my ass. And then I unlocked the frost one, which is almost useless as well. And yeah, I'm not digging it at all. I just not for me. I will play some more, but it's really not up my street.
Yeah,
which is
for a game, again, this is where I came back to games that just had no hype, right? Felt like it probably needed a bit of hype. But I mean, the world it's created, like you look at it and you think, bloody hell, this looks so good. Just like everything, and the backstory seems all right, and it's like, but so far the gameplay is kind of letting it down a bit.
Yeah, it is entirely the gameplay. If it had slightly better shooting mechanics, I probably would be more enjoying it more, but it just doesn't feel fun to play. At least BioShock had actually really good guns and powers and stuff, whereas this just feels off in some manner.
Yeah,
I can't really
it might be better without guns, just upgrade your melee weapons. You know, if you're against, I mean, obviously, maybe more into the game. Obviously, I've seen the weapons you can craft. Maybe, there are harder enemies, but right now, while we're fighting these kind of robots, it's like, well, an axe is all you kind of need, really. Like I said to Graham, I've hardly used my shotgun. I've used it once just to go, okay, it goes down in 2 shots, but yeah, my axe can take it down in 3. you know.
Yeah, just not digging it. And like you said, which one of you said that they spot you from? Pete, I think it was.
Yeah.
That you're trying to stealth, and they just suddenly spot you, and they're like, "Where the fuck did you come from?" And then they're like ninjaing across the arena, fucking doing their little special attacks. Like, where the fuck did you?
Yeah, because like I said, like, what's the point of having stealth mechanics or the sneak button if you can't actually sneak? Like.
Yeah, so not digging it at all. I know Ross was enjoying it a bit more, but our review from it for James went up and he gave it a 5.4, I think. And he was not a big fan of it either. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I think I put a 6 down, I think, just as a kind of precursor for now.
Yeah,
obviously we're still quite early in the game, so
yeah, we'll play some more for the rest of the month, obviously, and we'll give a proper podcast verdict later on. But yeah, for now, not every chance I get time to play it, I'm like, I can think of 10 million other games I'd rather play right now, so I'm just going to go play one of them instead, including Fortnite. But yeah, so we'll play some more. Ross will back next week, hopefully, and so will Ian get their proper verdicts as well. But let's move on to other games we've been playing, shall we, gentlemen? And let's go to, because I've got the trailer ready, Graham, let's go to you and this game called Merge and Blade.
Yeah, I just have a habit of doing these things. It's just you see some new stuff coming to Game Pass, sort of like quick winsy kind of games, and I just take a look at it as that looks kind of interesting. I'll see how this kind of plays out, and it's almost essentially like a mobile game that's just got transferred to console, but the way it kind of plays, it's not semi castle defense, semi kind of stacking. Like you see, they stack, and then if you get 3 or 4 of a kind, they kind of merge into them, and then if you get 3 of the next one up, they merge into another one, and then you can see on the side you've got upgrades as well. And then after you got so many turns, and then you have to fight sort of the enemies, and then depending on if they last or survive, then you see how they aligned. They come back aligned that way, and you can only swap their positions so many times, and sometimes you want to swap them in a position so when they come back, they merge into the next person in the chain, so they're a bit stronger. And it's just that's the only way they can progress up to the level, and there's this different unlocks, so you get more turns, you get more people to sort of combine, or you can have more swaps when they're in the battle, and it's relatively kind of simple, but it's just a bit of fun. There's just tiny bit of Tetris, tiny bit of castle battling kind of thing, and it's just a neat little time killer kind of thing whilst you have a few minutes, rather than sort of you just need these kind of games to sort of fill in the gaps between some of those games like Atomic Heart. You can't just dip in for like 15 minutes and dip back out because you're just not going to get anywhere. Whereas a game like this, sort of you can sort of complete a couple of levels in like 15 minutes and then leave it on, quick resume, and just join it back later because there's no massive server you have to wait on or save things or times ticking. It's just a quick win kind of game. And a little bit novel. It's not too taxing, but I thought it was not bad. A little bit of fun for a quick win.
Is this a new one to Game Pass then?
Relatively new. I think it's about a week or 2 weeks old, if that. So I did the same with I think it was Floppy Nights a week or 2 ago as well. So I just switched between those kind of ones. It's just something to jump into for sort of 10, 15 minutes on. So when you need a time filler and you don't have enough time to sort of dive into a deep game.
Is it something for cloud gaming at all? Or
Yeah, I would have thought so. It's just something you can pick up and play. I mean, you must have those kind of moments where you can't just dive into a deep game and you only have sort of 20 minutes to spare.
All the time. That was what like Vampire Survivors was so good for.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a
Games
quick
like
go with that. See how you get on.
So that's why I just have a peek at those. And sometimes, as you say, you might find a diamond in the rough with Game Pass with these ones that, as Pete said, go under the radar all the time with no hype. You say, that's just come in. What does that look like? Sometimes you just check the screenshots and trailers and think, yeah, that ain't for me. And sometimes you go, I'll have a look. And it was just one of those. I just had a bit of a longer look.
Nice. That's what we like to see. Again, the power of Game Pass, as we and many other people always say, give it a go, especially with cloud gaming. You can just give it a trick try. You don't have to install it half the time.
No, exactly.
Yeah, I've
exactly. Tried. Well, it's less than like a gig big. I think it's a couple of 100 meg, so it wouldn't even take that long to install.
Nice. Well, speaking of things that aren't very big and probably a bit if you tended to fly a little bit under the radar, Pete, I'm going to go to you now, and I want you to tell me all about this little game I'm going to start playing a trailer for. Okay,
so this game, I know someone in the Regular Moments podcast loves this game. It's been described by many as being really loud. Yeah, a lot of people consider this, one of the best games of all time. Having never played it myself, I always refer to it as, the poor man's Dragon Age. Having now played it for a couple of weeks, I don't have much gaming time this week, but I've given it a good chunk, and I have to say I was wrong. It's definitely not a poor man's Dragon Age. I think if I was to name it now, it would definitely be Dodge and Roll Simulator.
You're just getting the digs into Ross while he's at home.
But honestly, I've got Geralt to level 8 now, and I was going to say, we should
probably say the name is Witcher 3, by the way.
It's great. The Witcher 3 Dodge and Roll Simulator. I thought the audience would know. Sorry for the people that aren't watching and they're actually listening. I am talking about the Witcher 3. And honestly, I'm still waiting for it to get good.
Oh, that's a controversial statement.
There's a few things into it that are really kind of annoying me. Like Geralt's voice is annoying, right?
The low gravelly voice, Piers trademark.
Yeah, but it's like okay.
You wait to meet the other guy, one of the annoying other witches. Like he's got like an American twang to his accent.
Yeah, I've met a bald guy that I saved accidentally. But there was the combat is just so.
Yeah, I tell you, the combat is hard. The first common levels until you sort of really build up all your, I can't remember the name, the magic that you kind of use.
Yeah, like you use the whatever they're called, but the signs.
The signs, yeah.
The signs and the potions. Until you sort of make good use of the combos on there, then yeah.
Yeah, but even then, it's like, I quite like using the fire igni and all that kind of stuff. Of course. But it's. Because setting things on fire is always fun. But the potions, it's like there's no need for it. Like, what's the point? Another thing that annoys me is the fact that it has your gear and item weapons have durability. And I'm like, in a big open world game like this, it doesn't need that. Especially when gold, money, coins are quite hard to come across. It's just, really? Did it need that? You're in the middle of a fight and all of a sudden you see, my sword's gone red. Oh, great. Now I've got to try and... Well, the thing is as well, in a game, the thing about the durability that annoys me is the fact that it encourages you to not fast travel. However, if you try and get from A to B, inevitably... you're gonna lose so much durability of the items. So it's like, well, what do you want? But yeah, I've been unimpressed so far. I'm gonna keep going like I did with Fallout 4 and see if I get rewarded. But honestly, even the story, I've got quite far. I've met, spoilers. If anyone hasn't played a 10-year-old game, obviously, the big whole thing at first, they made a big song at the opening credits, the opening scenes, like a big song and dance about finding Yennefer. I'm like, cool, right, we're on a trek. We're on a quest to find Yennefer. Cool, here we go. And then like one of the first things you do is find them. Like, okay, so where's it going to go? Right. So this prince here, he wants you to find his daughter. Really? It's like yeah, cool. I took the Griffin down only because he had some information. I mean, yeah, okay, I'll kill that legendary beast for you if you tell me where this person is. And I bet you don't even know where she is. So yeah, not overly impressed. Not overly impressed. Yeah. I will say that obviously it does look really good. I enjoy the cutscenes, apart from Geralt's voice. I do like that. Even like the side quests, the little side quests have their own little cutscenes. And I do appreciate the work that's gone into that. I do love that. I do love that you can be pretty much a paragon or a renegade witcher by demand and paint or whatever. I do like that aspect of it and all that kind of thing. And the NPCs, I mean, I've been spat out about 20 million times by now. And there is a bit of continuity to the game where I think one of the first pubs or taverns I went into, instead of beating the guys up, I bought them around the drinks. And then I think when I got to the Baron's castle or whatever, then they said, "Oh, remember you bought us a drink." And I was like, okay, so there is some kind of reward for doing things like that, because it will make you maybe want to go back a second time and go, right, what happens if I actually do beat them up this time? So yeah, that's when I waffle on too much more. I am unimpressed, but I'm going to stick with it a bit more. See how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that, Greg. Some Scottish Highlands here somewhere. Just
well, I was hoping he would be here tonight to try and defend it, but he's not, so I can just dip in it what I like.
Well, if he wasn't blowing his ass out before, he definitely is now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can hear him raging. I'm waiting for the phone to stop blowing up. You fucking... yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try and defend it. I did enjoy it. I don't see... A lot of people say it's, like you said, like the greatest game of all time. I don't quite see that, but I do think it's very impressive, and I did enjoy my time with it eventually. I think me and Gray agreed, like the opening bit, up until the Griffin Act was real slow and awkward and painful, but once you got past that, it actually sort of opened up quite a bit, and it was decent. But yeah, hopefully you stick with it. Go on.
The other thing I was going to mention, is I think the first bit you're in, it says, "Oh, recommended for level 5." I'm like, cool, right, so level 5, cool, sweet. But then I'm running into level 13, 14 mobs, and I'm like, well, obviously this isn't recommended for level 5. So sorry.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get up to level 13, 14, and you can.
Yeah, I'm about level 8 or 9 now. So yeah.
Fine. Good.
Yeah. Persist. It is good.
Yeah. I will.
It's definitely a good game. It's well worth playing. And like you were saying, like there's lots of incidental like side missions and dialogue choices and options that will affect things later on that sort of come back, and it's very impressively done and well worth at least a single playthrough. I probably wouldn't play it ever again, but it was worth go through once. Right, I'm going to tell you a quick a bit about a game called Scars Above. I sort of teased it last week on the old Puddle. I managed to get it quite early and sort of check it out for review. This is a third-person action adventures, which initially sort of presents itself as a bit of a Souls-style game, so quite hard, lots of like brutal encounters with enemies that kill you quite quickly, but it sort of eases up quite early on to a point where it's not necessarily as brutal as Dark Souls, Demon Souls, all that sort of stuff, but it still gives you a good challenge anyway. It's based upon, if you're watching the trailer now, that big object there is a metahedron. It's sort of appeared above Earth. These guys called the Scars go to investigate it, trying to make contact with an alien species, and they get transported to some far-flung planet where they're separated. And the only person left standing is the girl you play as named Kate, and she's got to find the people and try and rescue them and figure out what the fuck's going on. Typical sort of fairly standard sci-fi sort of stuff. But it's the gameplay that sort of won me over, where although like I said, initially it's really hard, you're getting beat down really quickly because you've only got a crappy little like electric stun baton to try and fight all these creatures off. And very quickly you get given a gun which has 4 different fire modes. So it has ice, water, electricity, and a bit of fire. Yes. Yep. And you gradually unlock them throughout the game, and it sort of changes forms to fire things differently. And what I really enjoyed was you can combine the elements. So if an enemy's standing in water, for example, you can fire electric shoot them with electricity and it will spread out the attack to hit enemies around them as well as deal extra damage, or you can freeze them and do the same thing with the electric attacks like that, or you can cover them with the acid or the poison stuff and then set them on fire, which will then make it explode and sort of give again like a big area of effect damage. And all the enemies have different weak points, which are weak to the different elements of the guns. And I enjoyed that part of it. And there was quite a few boss battles throughout, which were quite tough, which took sort of key with that. So the first boss, he's got a massive glowing bit in his chest, which is weak to the fire thing, but he's always defending it. So you've got to use the electricity and the ice to try and sort of deflect him. So he's sort of frozen in a position where his chest's exposed, and then you can use the fire ones to hit him with it. And that was really hard, that first fight. Like I said, it got a lot easier as I got further on. And yeah, it's really enjoyable. The Souls element sticks through it, where if you get to a save point, you sort of replenish, you get your health back, you get ammo back, but so all the enemies respawn as well. So it can be a bit tricky if you're trying to, backtrack a bit and you're like, I've already cleared all these fucking bastards out and now they're back again. But generally, you're always moving forward anyway, so it's not too much of a problem. It's quite short. It took me about 5 hours to get through, 5 maybe 6 hours. But what's there is enjoyable. It's sort of like the opposite of Atomic Heart, where it's trying to do sort of too much and try and be big and grand and look how wonderful we are, but it hasn't quite nailed the feeling of the controls and stuff. Whereas this, it doesn't oversell its worth. It doesn't try and be like it's the next big thing. It's just like, here's a competently made action adventure that you're going to get through in a couple of evenings. It's going to give you a bit of a challenge, not too much. It's going to tell you a bit of a basic story, but performed well enough, and it's going to give you some fun things to play with. Like I said, the different elemental guns and stuff. And yeah, by the time I was finished with it, I was like, thumbs up all round. I'm happy with that. That was just like the right sort of pace for a couple of evenings. Just not too hard, not too easy, enjoyable enough, and yeah, well worth checking out. I would highly recommend it. Highly recommend it indeed. Yeah, there's a couple of niggles with it, I would say, where you've got we'll talk about that review in a minute. We got she got like an upgrade tree, and you find XP dotted around as well as getting it from killing enemies and bosses and stuff. And without even really trying too hard, before I entered the last level of the game or last section of the game, I'd maxed out the skill tree and I had about 9 points to spare that I couldn't use on anything. And I was waiting for something else to come. I was like, there's got to be like one final power to unlock. And I beat the end boss. And that's it. And there's not even like a new game plus or anything, so I can't go back and spend them on something else, perhaps. So yeah,
giving you extra points.
Yeah, exactly. I don't quite know. I understand how. I guess not everybody's going to find everything, but like I said, it wasn't like I was running around hunting through every single nook and cranny. I was just kind of going through the level and just finding these XP things as it was. I did do a few side missions and stuff, but nothing out of the like crazily extravagant to get so much XP. And some of the things are sort of poorly worded. So the crafting system, it mentions in the description and stuff, is basically you find an item, you press A, and it gives you a new item, and then you carry on. There's no like gathering resources really to give you new things or better things. You've got powers like you can throw grenades or put a shield on and stuff, which use up a certain resource, but you're not crafting anything. It's just like an energy source.
Okay.
But I mean, that's that. I only mention it because it labels, like I said, it says like you got a full crafting system to help you survive, but really you're just pressing a button to put a shield on or to slow down time or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I was very impressed.
A Soulsy game that you like, Jay.
I know, the very first Soulsy game. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's nowhere near as hard as most of the Souls games, but it was enjoyable, and it probably could have done maybe another hour or two if at a push, but I was quite happy with how it ended up. And yeah, I would highly recommend you go check it out. I think it came out last Tuesday. So yes, it's not been out too long, but I would highly recommend you go and play Scars Above. That'd be wonderful. Right, gentlemen, I want to get back to one of your other games, but I've lost my list. Graham, what else have you been playing?
I've been playing a bit more of Ishin, Like a Dragon.
Like a Dragon.
Yeah. it's still kind of confusing how much it's sort of resembles the first Yakuza game. And before I mentioned it last week, it just hit a whole new level when you join this kind of faction, which is called Shinzensumi. And basically, it's the same sort of way back in the Yakuza games. You join the Yakuza family, and you get made to be a captain in it because your guy's so kind of badass. And so it's like, okay, so they've even got the same sort of line out of captains and leaders, and just a whole part of a whole kind of family again. And so it's just weird how you're just tracking the person that killed your adoptive father. And it's sort of, that's kind of, you have an adoptive father in the Yakuza. And some of the faces that you see, some are from the previous Like a Dragon game, and you see him as like that person. Oh, he used to be the head of that mafia. Now he's one of the captains in this game. It's just weird seeing all the same kind of faces. It just looks like a retelling of the story in the samurai kind of era. And it's got the same kind of quirkiness is there. You can see some of the serious gritty scenes of killings with swords and stuff in there. That's what kind of happens. There's a lot of death in this game as well. And then suddenly you have a side quest where you have to entertain an author by singing to him. So you have a little bit of karaoke in it, and then you have to dance with fans in the second section. It sort of never ceases to amaze you how it sort of goes from super gritty to super bizarre and light-hearted.
It sounds like a good Wanted Dead.
Yeah, well, except for this sort of executes it in the same way Yakuza always does. I have to say that the variety of fighting styles in this game is a bit more fun than what it was in the original Yakuza game, because you just had different normal brawling fight styles. So you had like fast, technical, and strong, whereas this one you've got just normal hands fighting, sword fighting, gun fighting, or sword and gun fighting. So you've got a sword and gun at the same time. So you can do combos where you hit slice, shoot as part of a finishing combo. So that bit's a bit more interesting to sort of fight it that way. And I mean, as a Yakuza game, it's still just as fun as the other ones, but it's just story-wise, I still haven't hit like a fresh part yet. It still feels like a lot of it's been rehashed from sort of the first kind of Yakuza game.
So for people that haven't played a Yakuza game before, would they be able to jump in and play it straight away, or would you recommend playing previous Yakuza titles?
Not connected to Yakuza at all, other than the same sort of actors used. I mean, the guy that's the main guy in Yakuza is the main guy in this one, but they're not connected in any kind of way. So yeah, you could easily just jump into this one. It depending on what your kind of preference, a modern day sort of mafia gangster in Japan, or an old school sort of samurai kind of era. And you get the same kind of experience of sort of quirky side quests, plenty of content, different sort of fine side games, and sort of a real sort of detailed story, but it just doesn't seem like a new story. But like I said, I'm sort of in sort of chapter 5, 6 now. So there's usually that's kind of like the halfway point. So this is where usually some big twists kind of come into it. So hoping I'm get something up to then. So that will show me something new and sort of catch me out as they have done in the past.
So yeah, hopefully it continues, because you obviously are a resident Yakuza man. Like a Dragon now. I should get the name right.
Yeah.
This is the second Like a Dragon, is it?
But it's not connected.
No. I was going to say I was getting confused with all these names.
Yeah. So the Like a Dragon, the new Like a Dragon that came up, the one before, that was the main character was Ichiban in that one, and he's nowhere to be seen. Although he may come up as bloody someone else in this game as it has done. But that one, that's kind of what I expected it was. Well, what I didn't know is this is kind of a retelling of a previous game that's been out before. So that's why it doesn't seem as fresh. But having not played the one before and being new to the Yakuza when I played it before, yeah, it just not fresh enough for me. But for someone jumping straight into it, yeah, it's still as great as what Yakuza was. But I just don't feel like I'm playing something new just yet. But like I said, it may all change.
Yes, well, there is a new Like a Dragon coming out, and Like a Dragon 8.
It's supposed to be a combo with Kiryu and Ichiban. That's what I was expecting.
Yes, because that's what they're doing from now on. They've gone to Like a Dragon from Yakuza, so they're sort of carrying on with that. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some new stuff for you, and we'll get your verdict up on xboxtavern.com very soon.
Yeah,
about Like a Dragon. Is it Ishin or Inshin? Ishin, isn't it?
No, you catch me up.
I keep reading it, and every time I look at it, I'll read it different. Ishin,
I think it is.
Ishin, yeah. Cool. Thank you very much. Special guest Pete. Have you got any? We talked about Atomic Heart already. Have you got anything else you've been playing you want to mention?
I mean, the only other game I've been playing is F1 Manager.
Cool. So no, then, right.
I mean, it did have a free weekend play actually just over Steam over the weekend. So if anyone did play it that's listening or watching, then please let us know what you thought of it.
Yes, nice. And are you still enjoying it? Let's have a quick.
I am, because even though obviously you can't change teams mid-season or mid-save, you can just set up certain challenges for yourself. You know, the one I'm doing now is taking control of the Haas team. It's got obviously in this game you can build facilities. This team starts off with the worst facilities, but they've got still quite high expectations. So it's, every single team you take over has got a different challenge, and that's what I'm doing right now. Especially as my driver really, really likes crashing. So, yeah, shout out Kieran Magnussen, please stop hitting the wall or other cars.
It'd be too easy, wouldn't it? It'd be too easy.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, I'll talk very quickly about another game that I've been playing for review this week, which I'm not enjoying very much. Let me just get the trailer up.
It's not been a good week.
No, not really. Apart from my time spent on Fortnite, which has been wonderful. It's a game called Remorse the List. Let me just add this to the stream.
Okay.
And it's a horror game, which seems to be pretty much everything I've played this week, or this year, I should say, so far. But it's a very independent style horror game, so it's not along the lines of Outlast and stuff as much as it sort of might look like it. And the idea is you're plunked into this environment, and you've got to find 3 items. I think it's a toy car, doll, and so I can't remember what they are. It doesn't really matter. And they're sort of scattered around this little village, and you've got to solve the puzzles to get through the gate, to get to the area, to find the item, to solve the puzzle, etc., as you would normally do. Let's get rid of that quickly again. Hang on, where's my mouse gone? Right, and it's actually quite scary. I'm not gonna lie. When you get like the chills up your back, but it's more scary because they use a lot of cheap tactics. It's not
jump scares. Yeah,
a lot of jump scares. So, for example, I went into this building last night when I was playing it, and I went through the door, and there was an item I needed hanging up in the middle of the room, and there was a pile of boxes behind it. It's like, something's going to jump out of that. No matter, like, a million times out of a million, it's going to happen. And I walked over, and it still jumped out. It still made me jump. It's the only game recently that's made me shout out loud, "Fuck off, leave me alone." But what's the scary part really is obviously the jump scare made me jump, and like the audio, like they give it, like you get like the those shitty web games. You remember that game where you're trying to follow the maze and then you get the girl pop up and scream in your face?
Oh yeah.
It's that sort of like really loud, like audio.
Yeah.
Which it's just going to make you jump anyway. But the real scary thing is how shit this character is at aiming and using a weapon. So you get
That's the true horror.
You start off with a pistol. Well, you get a pistol earlier on and a hammer. Again, much like Atomic Heart, but his rate of fire is about 1 bullet a minute. So you're like trying to fire, and he's like bang, bang. So just fucking fire the bullets you can. And then he reloads, just takes forever. But the enemies are so fast, you can't really get away from them. So you're trying to shoot them, but you've also got no way of running away unless you turn around and run, but you can't reload while you're running. And it's just, the combat is not very good at all. It picks up later on. I mean, I must admit, I did cock up a little bit. I like to explore in games. I've got a key. The door with the key was on my left. I was like, I see what's on the right. I spent like an hour doing all this stuff in this house, struggling to get through it because the gun was so shit and like getting ambushed by like jump scares left, right, and center. Finally got through it, got the item I needed, come back, went through the door I should have gone through to start with, right down the floor, a whacking great Uzi. which would have made things 10 times
Ah.
easier. But I'm like a dickhead. I went the wrong way.
Serves you right.
I struggled like a bastard. And it did make it a lot easier once I got a Uzi. And then I think I also got like a Magnum as well, like not long after that. I really should have gone that way first. But
could you have gone back after you got the Uzi though?
Yeah. The whole point of this whole area is you can go back and forth as you want. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, I did cock up a little bit, but the point of even with the better guns, the combat's still not very good. And like I said, the scares are real cheap, like jump scare tactic type things. The puzzles are a bit weird as well. It's like the one I was struggling to solve while using a shitty pistol was there's like clues dotted around, and you have to figure out what order the clues go in based on the amount of sides that the shape that they're in is. So a triangle was 3, so that's like the first clue. The square is 4 sides, so that's the second clue, etc., like that. But once I got the clues, I figured out the puzzle, I got the answer. But then trying to actually put the answer in, you had to like pick a selection of crowns to put in this thing to fill up a jar. Made no sense whatsoever. And it also, there was no logic to, I mean, I had to look up the solution because I was trying all kinds of fucking options and nothing was happening.
Yeah.
And the 4 crowns that you had to pick, there was no rhyme or reason to why you had to pick them. It was just a case of like guess. And I just happened to not have guessed that combination. It really didn't make any sense, and that sort of annoyed me quite a lot. And I'm not holding out much hope because I've got 2 more bits to find, and I'm not holding out much hope for the rest of the puzzles. But yeah, not really enjoying it as much as I'd hoped. I thought it might be a nice little short horror game to get through, but it's more annoying than scary, really, which is a shame.
Happens.
Yeah, it does happen, but I will carry on playing it. But it's not very long. I mean, like I said, it's taken me like an hour to get the first bit, I think, and there's an achievement for getting through it in 2 hours, so it's not going to be a massively long
much
game.
more after that.
But yeah, not massively impressed. But my review will be up this week, and we'll go from there. Nice, cool, gentlemen. I think that's all the games we've been playing this week. Unless anyone wants to talk about more Fortnite with me, no, that's fine. I'll tell you, it's great. Anyway, let's get onto the sort of outro of the show. So before we get to Xbox Tavern After Dark, which you can get on patreon.com/Xbox Tavern. Oh, I'm getting better and better at this pluggle thing. Right, we're going to do games that come into Game Pass. And Pete, special guest Pete, do you want to do the honors?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
so, games come into Game Pass. So, obviously, the first one on the list is Wo Long Fallen Dynasty or Dynasty, however you want to say it. That was dropped yesterday, so get downloaded. If that's your type of game. We've got Guilty Gear Strive coming on the 7th, and then there's a big gap until MLB The Show, which is coming on the 28th of March.
Nice. Yeah, so I'm sure there's a few other games in there. I must admit, I only very quickly filled that list in earlier on. I'm sure there's a couple of other titles.
I did do a Google before, and I can't see it. Oh, yeah, F1 Formula 122 came out on the 3rd, so you can play that now via EA Play on with Ultimate. There's a game called Way to the Woods coming in March, but there's no solid date on that yet.
Nice.
And that's all I could find on Google.
Game Pass. I was going to say, if you try Jeeves, he'll give you the answer straight away.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the quick games that we're leaving, which we've got F1 2020 is off, Kentucky Route Zero, Young Souls, Undertale, Guardians of the Galaxy, Paradise Killer, Zero Escape, The Nonary Games, and Goat Simulator, which my kids are very disappointed to hear, but I'm sure Goat Simulator 3 is coming to Game Pass very soon as well, so that will replace it, no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, Undertale and Goat Simulator have been on there quite a while now, haven't they? So they've had a good stint.
Long time, yeah. Yeah, same with Kentucky Route Zero. That's one of the ones, as I feel like we say every time we read something leaving. I've had that installed pretty much since it coming into Game Pass. Never even touched it, and now it's leaving. But it is what it is, isn't it? But if you're not down with the kids, Gray, if you're not cool like us, and you've got games on Game Pass that you're not even going to touch over the course of like the 10 years they're in there, you want to get games with gold. Graham, what can I pick up, please?
They can pick up Guts and Goals, which is only going to be available until the 15th of March. And now you can also pick up Troubadour, which is available until the 31st of March, and Sudden Strike 4, the complete collection, is available until the 31st. And coming later on March 16th, we've got Lamentum coming up.
Nice. So some decent games there. Like I said, Guts and Goals is really good. Sudden Strike 4 is like a Command and Conquer style thing. I quite enjoyed what I played of that before, but I'm not very good at it, so I didn't get very far. Go check them out. However, I think for now, we're going to go check out and play some, do some Xbox Taverns X-Pod Tavern After Dark, because that is the end of yet another Xbox Taverns X-Pod Tavern, episode 110th, which we record every Sunday at 8 p.m.
Ish.
Thank you very much, Emma. Thank you very much. If you made it this far, you're a fucking hero. Get ready for more Xbox Tavern chat out, all about Resident Evil and Fortnite, and maybe a few things Graham cares about at some point as well. You can follow us at socials, etc. I'm sure you heard it earlier on if you made it this far. You can find me at InXan. You can find Graham
at Graham Reaper,
and you can find Special Guest Pete
at Pinnock and Inch.
Nice. And we shall see you after the jump if you're on Patreon. If not, we'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody, and be well.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Where's my mouse gone? Bye.
Bye.